We tend to think of scientific papers as these perfect, polished, final words on a topic. But what if I told you the most important part is actually where the scientists submit what they got wrong? Today, we're diving deep into a really cool academic investigation that shows how science's secret engine, its own self critique, is what actually pushes it forward. It just seems totally backwards, right? I mean, we're talking about a publish or perish world where your whole career can hinge on getting into a top journal. So, why on earth would you highlight the flaws in your own study? It sounds like you're just asking for a rejection letter. And yet, it happens more and more. So, what's really going on here? That's the mystery we're going to solve today. All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with that paradox of self critique. Then, we'll look at the massive investigation that brought all this to light. We'll uncover the key trends, figure out why they matter so much, and then break down 8 solid rules for making science even better. And finally, we'll see how this whole thing is fundamental to, well, progress itself. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, you first have to understand the pressure cooker that is academic research. For a scientist, getting published in a prestigious journal is like everything. It's a culture we call publish or perish, and it creates this enormous pressure to present your work as absolutely flawless. And think about the odds they're up against. The acceptance rates at the very best journals can be in the single digits. It's incredibly competitive. So when you're in that fight, why would you ever hand the judges a list of reasons to disqualify you? It feels like a crazy gamble. So scientists have to walk this incredibly fine line. The paper we're looking at really captures this, saying researchers have obvious reasons to hide flaws. This leads to what they call a tentative approach, a delicate dance between being an honest scientist and, keeping your career afloat. So how do we even know all this is happening? Well, a team of researchers basically became scientific detectives. They launched this huge investigation into their own field, management science, to see how it talks about its own weaknesses. And I mean, they really went for it. This was not a small sample. They dug through almost 1,300 articles from 5 of the best journals across a 25-year span. We're talking a massive amount of data. So the evidence we're about to look at, it's built on a rock-solid foundation. All right, with the scene set, let's look at the clues these investigators found. Now, to follow along, we just need a quick rundown of the 3 main types of flaws, or what scientists call threats to validity, that they were hunting for. So, first up is internal validity. This is the big one. It's the classic correlation is not causation problem. It's all about asking, did A really cause B? Or could some other hidden factor be responsible for what you saw? It's about how confident you are in your main finding. Second, they looked for threats to external validity. Think of this as the real-world test. It asks, okay, these results are cool in a controlled lab with a specific group of people, but do they actually apply out here in the messy, complicated real world? Can we generalize from them? And number 3 is construct validity. This one's a little more subtle but super important. It asks, are you really measuring what you think you're measuring? Like if you have a survey for job satisfaction, is it actually capturing that complex feeling, or is it just measuring something simpler, like how much people like their boss? So with those 3 clues in mind, let's see what they found. Okay, so we know what our detectives were looking for. Admissions of weakness in these 3 areas. And this brings us to the most dramatic discovery of their entire investigation. What exactly happened over those 25 years? Let's wind the clock all the way back to 1982. Back then, fewer than half of all published articles owned up to having any limitations. The majority were presented as pretty much perfect, with no asterisks attached. Now, let's fast forward 25 years to 2007. That number, it skyrocketed to almost 83%. Suddenly, the vast majority of studies were including a whole section just to talk about what they might have gotten wrong. This wasn't a small tweak, it was a fundamental shift in scientific culture. And this chart here shows it so clearly. This wasn't just a random blip. You can see a steady, significant rise across the board. The reporting for internal, external, and construct validity all went up and up over those 25 years. Scientists were getting way more specific and transparent about where their work might be weak. So, what do we make of all this? Does it mean that research was actually getting worse over the years? That there were just more flaws to report? Well, the investigators came to a completely different conclusion, and a much more hopeful one. This increase in reporting flaws isn't a sign of weakness at all. It's a sign of strength. It shows that the entire field is growing up.
As a science matures, its standards of proof get tougher, the community gets smarter about potential problems, and the bar for what counts as a solid claim gets raised for everybody.
So let's just reframe this. The old way of thinking was, oh, if I see a limitation section, that research is probably shaky. But the new understanding, the one backed by all this data, is the total opposite. Being willing to talk openly about your study's limits is the hallmark of a confident, mature scientific field that holds itself to incredibly high standards. Now, based on everything they found, the investigators didn't just publish their analysis and call it a day. They delivered a verdict, and with it, a clear set of 8 rules for authors, reviewers, and editors to make the whole process of science even better. Let's walk through them. So the first batch of rules is all about disclosure. The big ideas here are 1, just do it. Make it standard practice, because let's be real, every study has flaws. 2, give those flaws their own section so they're easy to find. 3, make it a team sport. Reviewers should help spot them too. And finally, focus on what really matters. Don't just give a laundry list, prioritize the weaknesses that could actually change the conclusions. The next set of rules is about how you talk about the flaws. Don't just list a weakness, explain the so what. What impact does it have on the results? And be straight about it. Describe the flaw, don't try to justify it or sweep it under the rug. The whole point is to make these sections useful by pointing the way to clear, actionable next steps that can move the entire field forward. This all builds to a really powerful conclusion. What we've been looking at isn't just a trend in academic publishing. It's a window into how we build knowledge, period. It's about seeing that the path to truth isn't some straight, perfect line, but a process of constant critical refinement. And this final quote from the authors just nails it. The goal isn't to be critical just for the sake of it. It's to turn those critiques into true catalysts. Every limitation that's pointed out isn't a dead end. It's a signpost showing the next researcher where to go. It's the engine that makes sure the next study will be even better than the last. And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. We've seen that in science, admitting what you don't know isn't failure. It is the absolute bedrock of progress. Real strength isn't pretending to have all the answers. It's being honest and rigorous about what we still have left to learn. So the question is, if that's true for science, how might that idea change the way you see the world?